Giant fan right now. Oh my God!
I can't. Hold on. I can't.
Your arch rival. Your arch rival gets your best player because your front office is inept.
Well, I can't. I'm okay with them letting him walk completely. You wanted them to sign him? What difference? You think he would have been good on the Giants this year?
I think that a player like Barkley and the money he was asking for, I probably would have given it to him for what he's done for the club. Would have been a mistake maybe 2-3 years down the line, probably, but. I feel like you can't.
The optics is worse than the actual move.
I don't think you could let him wear that jersey.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
You can't let him so
we're going to sign him just so he doesn't go to the Eagles?
I'm very territorial when it comes to the teams I root for. That's like going to the arch rival. Wow, bud. That is they're going to win a Super Bowl on our dime. That's how I'm thinking. They're going to win a Super Bowl on our dime.
My point is, he wouldn't even come close to the season he had, to the success he had if he stayed with the Giants. He is a perfect complement to that offense. He was not a perfect complement to he had some good years, not a perfect complement to that horrendous Giants offense. I have no problem that they didn't sign him.
What a lot of it was injuries, I feel.
You want to think about the optics, and he went to the Eagles, and yeah, division rival, fine. But I can't sit here and say that the Giants should have signed him just for the sake of keeping him out of the jersey or because it was the right move, because he wouldn't have helped them win any games, and there was no long-term future with him there. Go rotting into his 30s with a terrible team.
I'll meet you halfway. It was a lose-lose for the front office, no matter what they did.
Their big problem was Daniel Jones. It was not how they handled Saquon. Their big problem was paying him all that money. That was their big problem. I cannot listen. For a team that, there's a reason that when Josh Jacobs leaves and goes to a good team, that team, he becomes the focal point of a good team. And same thing with Saquon. Becomes the focal point of a good team. Derrick Henry becomes the focal point of a good team off a bad team. It's when you're a running back, the ultimate complement position. You have to be on already a good team in order to be ultra successful. That is what you need. You need to go into a team that is well prepared to utilize your services. The Giants were not. The Titans were not. The Raiders were not.
They need the key positions, Colin.
McCaffrey, another one. The Niners were equipped to utilize his services. They did not need to pay Saquon there. I have no problem with them letting him walk.
I understand that. You need to figure out the quarterback. You probably need to figure out the O-line. The defense is good enough. I hear that there are other needs that you need to kind of adhere by. But when you do that, you got to be prepared for the backlash of it. And you're going to get some backlash if they win a Super Bowl with Barkley.
Sure.
That's all I'm saying.
But were the Eagles, were the Giants going to win a Super Bowl had they gotten Barkley? I mean, sure. What are you going to pay him? You're going to pay him $60 million just so he doesn't put on the Eagle jersey?
Let me rebuttal. You gave an arch rival exactly what they needed to get to the next level of that offense.
So you're signing him just to keep him out of another jersey. Where's
you're going to see him.
Hold on.
See him twice a year. Kyle, you see him twice a year.
Mike, where's the good faith in that? You're talking about how great he is to the franchise. You're just doing it to keep him away from another one?
You see him twice a year, intra-division.
Fine, but they can't control that.
Intra-division,
Mike, they can't control that. Hold on. They can't control that. What, do you want to sign him just so he doesn't play for the Eagles? He's getting calls for the Eagles. We got to sign him now? We got to lock him in?
The loyalty factor of it. I understand it's not how you do business in the NFL. And I understand a lot of fans don't want to hear that. I'm just saying from a Giant fan right now, you got to be sick to your stomach.
I totally get that.
You're sick to your stomach that this guy's in the other jersey in his Super Bowl almost that went for 2,000 yards this year. That's the only point I'm trying to make.
But it doesn't change anything in my head with how the Giants handled that. Their problems were elsewhere. Their problems with how they handled other things, not the Saquon Barkley. He wouldn't have had nearly the season. He would have had half the season.
If you would have signed, what's the contract? I apologize for my ignorance. What's the contract you got from Philly? How many years?
I want to say it was 13 a year average.
4
over 3.
Okay. So if it's 3, you're telling me the Giants couldn't figure it out in 3 years?
Hold on. Nobody paid running backs then. You want to look at it now? Nobody paid running backs.
But if the Giants gave him that deal, they couldn't be able to turn it around next year and the year after.
What makes you say that? They didn't do it for his first 5 years. What makes you say that they're going to change all of a sudden?
Look what the Commanders did in their division.
That has nothing to do with Saquon Barkley. They just rinsed the ownership.
But hang on. The point I'm making is it's a complimentary position, yes. But if he's a good player, you want good players on your roster.
Here's a yes or no question. Here's a yes or no question. If they had Saquon Barkley, would they have been anywhere near the postseason?
Not this year, but maybe in 2 to 3 years.
Does the Giants next year look like they'll be anywhere near the postseason, yes or no?
I don't think the Commanders were. The point I'm trying to make is I don't think the Commanders were either.
And the point I'm saying is they're not comparable. The Giants are running it back, my friend. They're running. It's the same team. They have a quarterback. Giants don't have either. They didn't rinse the general manager and the head coach.
The Giants. I'm not saying they're going to land into Jaden Daniels, but they could easily make this thing into a considerably good roster. Isn't that why, Colin? Isn't that why they're keeping everybody?
Now here's the delusional part of it. You cannot act like every team cannot look at this and think we're going to pull a Commanders. That's not the way to do this, because that's not how this works. The Commanders are an outlier. There's the worst to first, but the worst to the NFC Championship, that rarely happens. It's not a formula worth replicating.
I'm just saying, if you sign him to that 3-year deal, I think you could probably have something good on the football field 2 or 3 years into that contract.
When he's 30, when he's 31, let's think about the hindsight here.
All right, okay.
I don't see how he is that much of a difference. If he wasn't a difference maker before with the Giants when they stunk.
Well, he got hurt. There were injuries. There's the injury factor.
And they were hurt. He was hurt because they were terrible. Because he got battered and because they didn't have a quarterback. They weren't suited to utilize his services. They still aren't. And they aren't going to be next year. They weren't last year. Daniel Jones was awful. They went with Boyle a couple games.
Well, why are... All right, this is bringing up other... I was about to say, why are they running it back? But that's a whole nother conversation. So
you want them to do the Commanders, Mike. Well, the Commanders had the second best pick. They had the best rookie quarterback in the NFL history, and they completely ran it back with a great owner, a great general manager, and they hit the bullseye on the coach. It's not replicable. You can't do it. 888-760. We love talking about getting a guy out of somewhere. Oh, he's trapped there. He's stuck under contract. Get him out of there. They're not using him right. They're not winning any games. Very rarely does that actually happen, and they get out, and they're able to go succeed and showcase their talents on a team that actually utilizes it. That's Saquon Barkley. If he signed a contract with the Giants right about now, people would be saying, get him out of New York. That's what people would be saying. It wouldn't be, Saquon was the loyal one. He's a Giant for life. Build the statue. They wouldn't be saying that. They're saying, get him out of New York. Get him to a team that will utilize his talents. Very rarely does that actually happen, and it did. So now we're flipping it? So now he should go back and lose? Saquon is better off this way. His career is better off this way, of course, obviously. I think that for a change, we actually had the player that got out before we could go on and on about not utilizing the wide receiver, not utilizing his talents properly on a losing team. That's my takeaway.
The ineptitude of the organization is crazy.
That's the forefront.
The ineptitude.
The Jones contract crippled them.
You should be able to sign Saquon Barkley because you should be able to get something on the field at this point in time that is respectable. And clearly that's not the option. And shame on me then, Colin. Listen, partner. Shame on me then for thinking that they could field a team next year or the year after. I thought a 3-year contract, all right, maybe you stink this past year. But next year and the year after, why can't you take advantage of Saquon being on the team? That was the only point I was trying to make.
Because they don't have a quarterback.
Fair enough. And maybe it was childish of me to think that they could have a Commander turnaround. I'm not saying NFC Championship game, but God forbid, be in the playoff hunt. Win 8 games. Win 9 games. He was a club legend.
I think you're confusing the running back for the quarterback. They need to figure that out before they could figure out the running back.
Maybe. And I think maybe because Barkley's been so good with the Eagles, and let's call it for what it is, we just called Jalen Hurts a tier 2, tier 3 quarterback. Maybe that's where my head is. Maybe you get and I know our caller just said he doesn't want Sam Darnold, fine. You find someone that could be able to win you a couple of games. Everyone tells me how good the Giants' defense is. So have your good Giant defense with Malik Neighbors, a quarterback, and try to fix the offensive line. I don't know. Maybe it was wishful thinking that he could contribute on a Giant team 2-3 years down the line that could do something.
Better off for Saquon this way. Yeah, it stinks that it's in Philly, but talking about all the time about how players are kind of buried in these terrible markets that don't give them a winning team. Waste away a career is something that likes to be thrown around a lot in sports. Wasting something away.
Wait, can I give you Mike Trout? Mike Trout's
Trout
a pretty
was
good example of that.
You think Trout is gloating in his loyalty right now?
He's counting his money.
He's not gloating in his loyalty right now.
He's counting that cash.
There's guys who are buried on bad teams for their whole careers off of that loyalty. Saquon Barkley, this is a short business. You have 2 contracts, maybe 3. I'm completely fine with them letting him walk because it didn't make sense for the Giants, and it really didn't make sense for Saquon. That team's not ready to utilize him. That team is not ready for a star running back. The teams that are ready for star running backs are teams like Baltimore or teams like the Eagles. Teams like Green Bay, teams who need to take another step forward from an already good team.
I feel like I hear Giants fans saying through their radio, it's so Giant-esque for him to go to Philly and this happen. It's the nature of the business.
Russo and Rizzo.